Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again in this YouTube astrological segment. We're going to be talking about transit Mars conjunct one's natal south node. Now, when we're talking about transits that involve Mars, this could be about action, motivation, drive, energy, enthusiasm, and even exuberance. When the transit of Mars conjoins one's natal south node, this could be about a lot of action, activity, motivation, drive, energy, enthusiasm, even having courage in matters of what you're going away from. Say if this is in Gemini in the seventh house, it could be superficial or mercurial, or even two-faced relationships. Um, this also can be about really being motivated. It might even be going into your past, perhaps whether it might have been people that you have known previously, or maybe places you've been to. Um, Maybe it's past memories in some cases. And also it could be a lot of enthusiasm really about trying to deal with maybe what might have been to your detriment. Um, it could be also too, you might be more about taking action in things that might be affecting you adversely. If it's in Virgo, it might be hypochondriac tendencies, perhaps. Maybe if it's in Pisces, maybe it's over. Might be something where it might be something with gullibility or being overly impressionable, uh, being overly passive with something. If this is something, the South Node can also be about what we're naturally proficient in. So it could be about a time where you might be actually injecting a lot of energy and vitality into something that you may be naturally good at. If it's in Aquarius, it could be something with innovation or expressing altruism, selflessness, being unique. Person, Libra can be about persuasion, mediation, being able to coordinate, being able to act as somebody that can help reconcile a situation, working as a team player. But also keep in mind the South Node is connected with our overdeveloped attributes and qualities. So this is something, going back to Virgo, it can be connected, somebody taking too many precautions, hypochondriac tendencies, like the person that grabs the bathroom door in a public restroom with a paper towel constantly. It might be the person that says, well, you need to spray your shoes every time you come in with bug spray in order to eradicate possible bugs on it. Things of that nature. In Aquarius, it could be somebody that just has this urge to just constantly be unique and different and go against the grain, be a nonconformist, whether it's or do something in a different manner that is done compared to other people just for the sake of doing it. Now, also too, keep in mind, for those of you that believe in past lives, you may, the South Node can be connected with that. So it could be a time where you might be a little bit more, motivated or enthusiastic about maybe pondering what you may have been in a past life, and that's of course connected with the sign that is on your South Node. Aries could be somebody that was a fighter, a battler, somebody that was exhibited a lot of leadership abilities, somebody that was very pioneering, um, and also too, South Node could be about what's diminished, what we're going away from. Sometimes it can be removal, because you're moving past something. You're basically removing some kind of energy from you at this. As far as the South Node goes, this is something um, where you can be maybe letting go of anger, or maybe a contentious situation, maybe leaving. Now, when you're talking about this transit as well, another way it could manifest and pan out, it can be about showing certain initiative, enterprise, even being impatient. It could be over a person that you knew in the past. Maybe it's a time where if you haven't talked to this person a while or engaged with this person, sometime you might take the initiative and try to rekindle something with this person. Say if it's in the 11th house, it might be a past friend. In the 12th house, maybe it's somebody that's in a less fortunate situation than yourself, or somebody in a 12th house type profession, like somebody might be a poet or a dancer, someone in the metaphysical, which includes astrology. And also too, this could be about you might be a little more impatient than usual over something that may have had some kind of adverse effect on you, or having an adverse effect on you. And this is something, in Taurus, it might be simply, just being maybe overly stagnant, or maybe just holding on to, a certain belief. Say if you have this in Taurus in the 9th house, it might be some kind of, persistent philosophy which you really didn't deviate from, and maybe that's holding you back. And say if it's in Taurus in the 12th house of your natal chart, it could be where you might be becoming a little bit angry or impatient over maybe maybe some kind of manner being, maybe something where you're overly stagnant and you don't want to deviate or change, and it might be the self-undoing. It can also be, Gemini in the 7th house. It could be a mercurial, relationship you're in, and maybe it's something, a mercurial person that you're in a relationship with. And this could be something too where you're looking at this, and also even self-notice about overdeveloped traits and attributes. So it might be a time where you might be, maybe you're even tiring of these overdeveloped traits. I mean, the South Node can be, redundant energy. If you have this in Taurus, again, going back to zodiac sign Taurus, it could be a person that might be overly acquisitive to the point where they might be like, hoarders as an example. It may be just something where, where there might just be simply not really wanting to waver, from any idea or whatever it may be. Something too where, looking at this transit as well, let's say this could also be, again, a lot of energy and enthusiasm going to things that you're naturally proficient at. It could be something like, say if this is in Virgo in your 5th house, for example, it could be some ability to dissect and analyze lovers, even children, or even an ability, for analytical, intellectual amusement or enjoyment. Maybe like what I do, I extrapolate sports data. I have the South Node in Virgo in the 5th house, but again, the overdeveloped negative qualities perhaps can be about being overly critical and judgmental of 5th house people, such as lovers and children. Could also be, this can manifest too in showing a lot of courage and fortitude in what you're naturally proficient in. Say, for example, if this is an Aries in your 12th house in your natal chart, it could be fighting for people that are less fortunate, such as, the weak, or people that are passive, even defenseless. It could be, debilitated elderly people, people that can't fight for themselves. This could be a time where you might be showing more courage in these areas that you're naturally good at and you're proficient in. And it might be a time too where you might find yourself more outspoken about things pertaining to the past. Say, for example, if this is in Gemini in your 3rd house in your natal chart, it could be maybe a situation you were involved in when you were in school, where you had plagiarized something when you were in early education, or even theft during that time when you're in your early education. It could also be, might be a time too where you feel that your energy is diminished and depleted at this time. Um, say if this is in Taurus in your fifth house, for example, it could be very like latent energy, endurance for sport. I mean, the fifth house is sports. Taurus can be connected with very latent energy, endurance, and if it's in the fifth house, maybe for sports, and that energy might be depleted or dissipated. This time, remember that South Node can be about what we're going away from, and it could also lessen and diminish the energy connected with the planet it's contacting. Hold on a moment, people. Now, another way this could manifest too is it also can be, you might find at this time when you have this transit, it might be more arduous and more of a laborious effort for people that are using a certain method of doing things. Say if it's in Scorpio, for example, it can be like the person that works in forensics, that is investigation, that's like trying to get a shoe impression. I don't know if you've ever seen forensic files. I think they use some kind of plaster or something to make a shoe impression to try to help apprehend the criminal and match that impression up with a suspect's shoes, for example. Isolated cases, this might be the removal or some loss of muscle. Remember that Mars can be connected with muscles and also blood as well. So it could be a time where you might have, might have lost some blood, due to some kind of injury or what have you. Say, for example, if this is an Aquarius, it might be some kind of, maybe some surgery where you had part of your calf removed, or Sagittarius, it could be something with the hip. But also, again, this can actually be about a surgery, because Mars can be associated with surgery. South Node is what we're going away from. Surgery that has left, and it can be something that is completed. And I would say especially more when transit Mars makes the separating conjunction to the South Node, and that could be a sign that the surgery has culminated, has completed. Say if this is in Gemini, for example, it can be some surgery on the arms, or on an arm or a hand. It might be carpal tunnel, for example, something with the lungs, if that is possible surgery. And also a time to remember that Mars can be very acrimonious, angry energy. So it might be a time where you might find yourself letting go of some anger. Maybe you're able to actually unleash it constructively, or just simply find some kind of peace with yourself. If it's in Pisces, for example, it might be through just the fine art of forgiveness and trying to overlook other people's transgressions, trying to be more passive. South Node is not always, detrimental. The South Node can actually be good in terms of negative things perhaps leaving us, and it's also what we can actually be proficient in. It can be overdeveloped, redundant qualities, but it can also be what we're naturally good at. Anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment. Until next time, people, Edwin Learnard saying, stay well.